Good morning, this is Miss Webb. We're going to start factoring. And factoring, if you're going to ask me, the most difficult thing to teach online would have been factoring. I normally don't do it with slides. I had to create these. I normally do it on the whiteboard. We're going to do it in steps, though, since we're doing it online. And we're going to start where the leading coefficient is 1, and I'll show you what I mean on that. So let's get started. Okay, I call factoring playing the game. I think actually factoring is kind of fun. And I'm going to start easy and play with an open hand. You know, like when you learn a new card game, we're going to leave all of our cards on the table. I'm going to start with, if you had two binomials, let me go get my pen here. Okay, let me get over here. I have two binomials, and I'm going to double distribute. I'm going to do x times x gives me that x squared. X times 9 gives me the 9x. 2 times x gives me the 2x. And 2 times 9 gives me that 18. Then I combine my two like terms, and I end up with x squared plus 11x plus 18. When we talk about coefficients, there's an understood one here, and they'll usually refer to these as a. This one, the coefficient in front of x is b, and the last one is c, your caboose, your constant. Why I call it a game, if I just give you x squared plus 11x plus 18, the game is to find two numbers that multiply to 18, because notice the 2 times the 9 is where I get that 18. And they have to add to 11, because 9 plus 2 is 11. And I'm going to show you how to do this. Okay, so here's where we are. And we're going to play this game here. Now, the first part of the game is to find two numbers that multiply to 18. So I'm going to take 18, and I'm going to break it into its factors and tell me all the pairs that would multiply together to get 18. I know 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6. 4, nope, can't multiply 4 by a whole number. 5, nope, can't do it, and then I'm back to 6. So those are the factors of 18. And I have to find the two numbers that add to 11. Okay, well, 1 plus 18 equals 19. 3 plus 6 equals 9. But 2 plus 9 is 11. That's how I know that I'm going to end up with this 2 and this 9 up here. So I'm going to play the game. I'm going to find two numbers that multiply to 18 and add to 11. And I'm going to show you how this works too with different signs. The signs are really what tell you what path to follow. The first thing I do is I look at this second sign there. And if it's positive, then I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to 18 and add to 11. They're either going to be positive, positive, or negative, negative, because that last number here I get from doing 2 times 9. But look, if I do negative 2 times negative 9, a negative times a negative, I also get positive 18. So those would work. But if I look at the first sign is a positive. That's how I know it's x plus 2, x plus 11, because I need that middle term to be a positive. Now I'm going to show you this a couple of times. You'll start to get the hang of it. Okay, here's the sign path. Let's start over here. If I have my second sign is positive, so I look at the second sign, I find out that it's positive. Then I know it's two numbers that multiply to 18 and add to 11. So I break out my factors, I circle the ones that add, and I put them in my brackets, or my parentheses. Now I go and look at the first sign. If that first sign was positive, then it's x plus 2, x plus 9. However, if that first sign was negative, it would have been x minus 2, x minus 9. Okay, now I'm going to change pen colors. I'm going to go with purple here. What happens if I see a trinomial like this guy and the second sign is negative. If it's negative, I'm going to find two numbers that multiply to 18 whose difference is 7. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. And I'm looking for the difference. I'm not worried about whether it's a positive or negative. I'm just looking for the difference. So the difference between 18 and 1 is 17. Difference between 9 and 2 is 7. Difference between 6 and 3 is 3. Which one has a difference of 7? This one right here. That's how I know what goes in my brackets there. Okay, now, but I'm not done yet. I have to look at the first sign. On this one, the first sign is negative. Okay, if the first sign is negative, that means I'm going to give, what's the biggest factor, 9 or 2? 9's the biggest factor. 9 is going to get the negative sign, and the plus sign is going to go with 2. Why is that? Well, when I look at the second sign, and it's a negative, I know it's got to be a negative 9 times a positive 2. That's the only way I can get a negative 18. Okay? But I have to know the difference here, and if the difference is a negative 7, then I know when I did negative 9x, okay, and then I have a positive 2x, the 9x wins. It's when I combine my like terms, I'm combining 9x plus 2x, and I get a negative 7x. If the signs were different, if this was a positive and that was a negative, I wouldn't get the 7x. I'd get a plus 7x. Okay? And I'm going to show this to you. I'm just walking it through for you a couple of times. Okay, here's my sign tree. And this one's really important. You might want to print this one out, or you might want to take a picture of it. I look at the second sign. If the second sign is positive, this is the game I'm playing. Two numbers that multiply to that back number and that add to the middle one. Then I look at the first sign to decide if it's positive, positive, or negative, negative. Okay. On this one, if the second sign is negative, this is the game I'm playing. Two numbers that multiply to the back number whose difference is b. Once I find that, I put my parentheses in, and I have to know that it's plus, minus, or which one's got the plus and which one's got the minus. The biggest factor gets the plus sign. On this one, if the second sign was negative, then the biggest factor would get a negative. And it doesn't matter what order these are in, okay? But it does matter that the biggest factor has to have a plus, or the biggest factor has to have a negative. And I'm going to show you these. We'll look at them. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to do 4 examples with you. So I'm going to start by cheating. I multiplied x plus 2 times x plus 3. Because I want you to think about where these numbers come from. You can see where I get the x squared because I do 1x times 1x. You can see where I get the 6 because I'm doing 2 times 3. The middle terms are 2x plus 3x. Okay? So let's say I didn't give that to you and I said, okay, I want you to factor this. The first thing I would do is I'd look at that. It's a positive. That means the game I'm playing, two numbers multiply to 6, and they have to add to 5. So here we go. Let's see, I got a 1 and a 6, 2 and a 3. That's it. Those are the only factors that multiply together to give me a 6. And I'm going to see how they add up. 1 and 6 add to 7. That will not work. 2 and 3 add to 5. That's how I know it's 2 and a 3. So I'm going to do an x, 2, x, 3. Now I'm going to look. I know because this is positive. It's either positive, positive, or negative, negative. So I look at this first sign, and it's positive. So it's got to be a positive, positive. And I've got my answer. Let's try another one. Okay, I'm going to start with the 8. The game I'm playing is two numbers, because this is a positive. I'm looking at the second sign. Two numbers that multiply to 8. And they're also going to add, because this is a positive, to 6. Okay, so I go, okay, 8. That would be 1 and 8. 2 and 4. That's it. Now I have to know which one of those guys add to 6. Well, 1 and 8 adds to 9. 2 and 4 adds to 6. So I come over here and I know it's going to be x, it's going to be a 2, x, and it's going to be a 4. Now I'm going to go look at the first sign. It's negative. That means this has got to be a negative, negative. Because negative 2 times negative 4 still gives me the positive 8. And I'm combining negative 2x and negative 4x for a negative 6x. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, here's my guy, and I'm going to say, okay, what's my game? My game is two numbers that multiply to 12, and now I'm looking for a difference of 1. So I come to the 12, and I go, okay, what are the factors of 12? 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. And now I'm looking at what's the difference of those two numbers. Well, the difference between 1 and 12 is 11. The difference between 2 and 6 is 4. The difference between 3 and 4 is 1. So I know that's what's going to go in my parentheses. Okay, now I come and I look at my first sign. It's a positive. If it's a positive, the biggest factor, 3 and 4, it's going to get the positive. And I got it. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, here it is. And I have to, I'm going to play the game. It's a negative sign here. The negative, it almost looks like the other one, doesn't it? Let's see if Mrs. Webb's got her slide right. Okay, it's a negative 12. That means I'm going to have two numbers that multiply to 12, and their difference has to be 1. I'm not worried about this 1 being a negative or positive. I just know the difference has to be 1. 1, 12, 2, 6, 3, 4. The differences, there's an 11, there's a 4, oh, there's a 1. So I know I'm going to write these down. I'm going to do x, 3x, 4. Now 4 is the bigger factor. I go look at this sign right here. It's a negative. That one gets the negative. That one gets the positive. Okay, let's give these a try. And you definitely want to check my office hours if you're still having a hard time with these. And I tried to give you some examples of each one. And you might want to go back and look through this video again. Good luck.